है रोशनी का कारवां।
This podcast is brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां, रोशनी। Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां।
Hi, my name is George Abraham and welcome to Eyeway Conversations. My guest today is Gokul S, an IAS officer from the Tamil Nadu cadre from the 2021 batch. Hi Gokul, welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show.
So let me begin by asking you, when did you first dream or aspire to become an IAS officer?
This was 2018. So at that time, probably many of us would remember, there was this huge flood in Kerala.
That's
Like
correct.
around 500 people died.
Yes.
A lot of the rescue activities were carried out by volunteers. But suddenly, my city, Trivandrum, was a hub of all the volunteer activities. But with me, what happened was, in this kind of a situation, suddenly there was nothing that I could do.
You felt as a visually impaired person, you were helpless in this matter.
Yeah, what happened was I was talking to a friend about this. So he told me, okay, wait, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. And then he cut the call, and within 5 minutes, he called me and told me, somebody will come and pick you up. We need a lot of, we need people to, coordinate things.
Basically operating the telephone and getting information and sharing it to people and that kind of stuff.
That is what I started with.
Yeah.
But eventually, what we were doing is we were liaisoning between officers, liaisoning between, say, the government of Kerala and the Navy. And we were also coordinating, like, there were a lot of fisher folk who were into this rescue. So we
Right.
were directing them where to go. We were
Right.
also directing there were helicopters, etc., pushed into the service.
Yeah.
So we were directing them where to go.
So how does that lead to the civil services?
Yeah, so that time I got to interact with a lot of officers,
Right.
IAS officers.
Right.
Some of them who were the people who were literally responsible for the whole relief and rescue mission. And I
Right.
came to realize how much these people could do, and
Yeah.
how much power they have, that they could literally change lives,
Yeah.
and the kind of responsibility that each of them hold.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, maybe this is where I want to be. Let me give a try. And that is how I decided to give the exam.
So how was your journey towards getting this civil services exam going?
Once I decided, I gave my first prelims while I was doing my PG itself, and I cleared basically.
Right.
And that first attempt, I got into the service. Like, I got into the Indian Defense Account Service.
Yeah.
While working there, I gave my second attempt and I got into IAS. Basically, I didn't take a break, didn't do a full-time coaching or anything. But the reason why I cracked the exam in the first attempt was probably more down to the fact that starting from 2014, I was in this whole public speaking, debating arena. I already used to read at least 2 newspapers daily. I had already, went through all the materials.
After you clear the interview, obviously they let you know that you have been selected, and then they put you through a probationary training program for almost a year,
Yeah.
where you spend a lot of time traveling across the country, plus you spend a lot of time at the academy at Missouri. So, can you give us a brief idea of what exactly happens?
This is, I think, one of those periods which, people are generally not that aware. But that is, I guess, one of the most wonderful periods you have as an officer, because number one is uh, that particular period gives you an opportunity, like, to know your country in a way like few people get to. Because as part of our we have everything. We have an army attachment, we have attachments with the other armed forces, navy, air force, everybody. We have one 10-day trekking program where you are to trek to like some of the highest peaks of Himalaya. Then academically, if you look at it, you are given exposure to some of the top people within the country and outside the country. Uh, Plus, definitely, like, these people who clear this exam and come there, they themselves, all of them are like very sharp minds. So it is a um it is such an it's an electrifying atmosphere. The kind of camaraderie, the kind of connections that you make there, and all these exposure you have outside the actual academy is wonderful.
So I am also told that, and I have met people who come from various different states, but they are posted in a state which is not their own.
Yeah.
Like I've seen North Indians being posted in, say, Kerala,
Mhm.
and these North Indians speak beautiful Malayalam, for instance.
Mhm.
So I guess when you were posted in Tamil Nadu, you were expected to learn Tamil.
Definitely.
And how does that
Yeah.
happen? Because does the academy have facilities for that, or you have to do it on your own?
Academy does give a basic training in the language of our cadre, but mostly it happens once you are posted in the cadre. Because, for example, if you come to Tamil Nadu, number one, in this kind of a job role, you are basically always interacting with public.
That's correct.
So yeah, you are basically having an opportunity to learn a language immersively.
Right.
uh, I mean, initially it might be difficult if you are when you are an outsider, but eventually you hear so much of Tamil that you naturally pick it up. Plus, all the file works, everything happens in uh, Tamil only for 80% of it. So you kind of naturally pick up. Then definitely your staff helps.
If you know of anyone with vision impairment who needs guidance in living life with blindness, please share the Eyeway National Helpline number 8800 The number is 8800
Now, you've been in the service for about 5 years.
Yeah.
What has been your responsibilities thus far?
Our first posting in the field is as assistant collector. That is basically a probationary training posting.
Right.
You are to remain with the collector and train under the collector.
Right.
But I had a superb collector who let me do a lot of things, who let me do a lot of experiments. That was one of the wonderful. I mean, it was such a learning experience. So after that, I was called to Delhi as part of like it was a small deputation, 6 months deputation under the finance minister.
No
But
worries.
it was with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Right.
So that we I had about 6 months there in Delhi.
Yep.
Then I was posted back to Tamil Nadu. I did my SDM, that is sub-divisional magistrate, where I generally we take care of all the land revenue related matters, law and order matters, and related subjects. So after the SDM posting, now I am posted as additional collector. Uh, in some parts of the country, it's called CEO Zilla Parishad, etc. So
Right.
basically, we take care of all the developmental activities of the district.
So here, I guess the dependence or reliance on a good team is very critical, I guess.
Yes, wherever you are on the field, I mean, it is generally for any officer, when you are in the field, your performance is based a lot on what kind of immediate team you have.
When you go to a new district, do you have a choice in terms of who constitutes your team, or they are just delegated to you?
We do have a choice. So basically, what I do is, uh, when I come to a new place, I keep the old position for a few months, 2, 3 months.
Right.
So I study all the people, and hopefully, usually we pick up, we tend to find, since we see a lot of people daily, we tend to locate those people who are sharp, who can be relied upon, that kind of thing. Then we make adjustments after about 2, 3 months.
And how important is it to have an understanding boss?
When you first come to a new place, people will not believe that you, as a person who is disabled, you as a person who is visually impaired, can do this kind of thing. I mean, it's not their problem. I would never say it's their problem, because uh, these, uh, admittedly, these jobs are very visual heavy.
Yeah.
And people don't know that this kind of technology exists, or AI has come such a long way and all that. People don't know. So, but generally, uh, even your boss, they initially don't believe that you can do stuff. So there is always a possibility that you might be sidelined,
Right.
right? They will rely on your subordinates, uh, especially if your boss has been here for a long time before you you know got posted here. They will know stuff. They will know your subordinates, everybody.
Right. So
So
they would tend to bypass you in such
yeah,
situations.
they tend to bypass you. They tend to you know talk to your subordinates directly. Uh, they tend to, might sideline you. So it depends. It changes from officer to officer. But then, what I have always felt is that in such cases, it becomes your, responsibility to take the initiative to change the point of view. If you need to be assertive for that, that's fine.
Now, you as a civil servant working at the district level, and you being a person with disability, do you bring in your situation of being disabled to actually look out for people with disability in the district?
It's not just about people with disability, but generally people whose voices are otherwise not heard.
Yeah.
We tend to have, even if we don't have the exact solutions for them, we tend to have that mindset wherein, okay, these people may have these problems, and generally nobody is going to, it's a framework of, I think it's a way of thinking. For example, like, uh, today morning I went to, we have one like medical college here.
Right.
So I thought, all right, it's the new year. I'll go there, and I went there, and I celebrated the new year with all the sanitation workers of the medical college.
Right.
This is a section of people who are not otherwise not looked out for.
To support our work with the blind and visually impaired, you can visit the donate page on our website www.scorefoundation.org.in. Please note www.scorefoundation.org.in.
You were telling me in an offline conversation that you've also done a lot of work in terms of technology and creating awareness in your district regarding technology. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I have been, enthusiastic about technology. I've been using technology for at least like I said, since my sixth, seventh class for more than 22 years now. So, one of the reasons why I have been, able to give the exam, be here, even today, one of the reasons why I've been able to work confidently uh, in a sector like mine, where there is a lot of visual information, it is because I have been able to make good use of technology uh, till today. There was this famous fair that is done there in Tirunelveli. For
Right.
more than 10 lakh footfall will be there. People from all over South Tamil Nadu comes for that fair. So what we did was we brought assistive technology into that fair. Like the first 3 days of the fair were, uh, kind of made totally accessible. We brought in people with disabilities from all over the place. Plus, there was an exhibition of a lot of assistive tech devices, screening of movies with audio description. All these things were there. Basically, the objective was not only to make the disabled population available, aware of what was available, but also to make the mainstream population start talking about what options are out there. I mean, that was the biggest achievement we had.
You have now been in this new position. Can you tell me a little bit in terms of what sectors you're working in? You have something to do with the Panchayati Raj, I guess, something to do with rural development. Can you just throw a little light on the kind of responsibilities you have at the moment?
Yeah, so I have a few verticals under me right now. One is, of course, Panchayati Raj. Panchayati Raj means one is the local self-government, plus all the basic activities in panchayats, including water, sanitation, street lights, plus this all the solid waste management, liquid waste management, that kind of things. Plus, then another thing is I also have all the this MN this the Manrega, including all the employment provisions, all of that also come under me. Whole of the Swachh Bharat activities come under me. That is, though all of those belongs to the Panchayati Raj vertical.
Yep.
Then there is the women and child development vertical, where all the self-help groups, loans to them, organizing them into productive units, providing them with revolving funds, taking them to the next level. All of that comes in. Plus, again, Anganwadis, ICDS, integrated child development schemes, plus this again we work with the health department to control this infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, those kind of things, uh, and diseases in children, etc. These are all we integrate with the health department. But yeah, our part is also there. Then another thing is the provision of these food for like school children, this noon meal programs,
Midday meal.
breakfast programs, midday
Yeah.
meal programs,
Yeah.
all of those come under another vertical.
Right.
So these are all the Panchayati Raj and related verticals.
Right.
Now, rural development is more focused on infrastructure.
Right.
We have all the housing schemes, like including PM Awas Yojana from central government.
Yeah.
Plus, state government has two, three housing schemes going on. All of those housing schemes are managed by us. Then all the other infrastructure, including school buildings, health buildings, uh, plus all such buildings, uh, ration shops, uh, all of those are also managed by us. Construction is managed by us. Handing over will be once we construct it, it is handed over to the concerned departments.
Yeah.
Then we have the roads and bridges. So the construction of all the roads and rural roads, basically, not highways, that is done by the PWD department.
Right.
But rural roads, for example, all the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana, PMGSY roads,
Right.
and other state scheme roads, and also small cement roads, streets, bridges, smaller bridges, all of these are done by our department. Then we also manage the MP LADs, MP Local Area Development Funds. MLA Local Area Development Funds are there. That is also all the construction, all the monitoring is done by us. Uh, then there are, of course, all the uh, other verticals which are like our own verticals, like establishment, all the administrative things. That is also there. So I think
That
eight, nine
sounds
broad verticals will be
that
there.
sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
Now, I just was listening to what you were saying just now, and like for example, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. You also talked about a lot of construction of public buildings like schools and probably local offices and local hospitals and health centers and so on. Uh, so, do you keep an eye open for accessibility in all these programs?
Definitely. I mean, right now the situation is such that it is the provision of accessibility is kind of baked into the building plans and everything. But uh, uh, to a certain percent, normally it remains on paper. But if we keep a slight push, they do it because now the schemes are designed in such a way that financial provision is there.
Yeah,
So generally people don't do it because of their negligence, or generally they keep thinking that okay, like even yesterday we had a discussion wherein someone was saying, uh, even if we make the whole building accessible, probably nobody is going to come there.
right.
Uh, but I told them it is not about whether somebody is going to come there or not. In case somebody comes, it should be accessible.
Yeah,
Unless you keep things accessible, how are people getting the opportunity to make the choice to come alone or come without support?
sure.
So that is a question. But because financially there is provision, if we give a bit of insistence, it gets done.
Right. So what you're saying is that these the principles of accessibility are integrated into all these schemes.
Yeah, now it's integrated. It's part of the even when you prepare the DPR, detailed project report for a building,
Yeah,
basically accessibility provisions are given. Have to be unless that is given, approval is not granted. Like they even mentioned the ramp size.
yeah,
Size means that incline and everything.
yeah.
That standards have to be followed.
Great, Gokul. It was wonderful talking to you and getting insights into what goes in the life of a civil servant. And it was good to hear about how you got into this and your early days and your various interests and responsibilities and how you've actually moved forward. So wish you the very best, and you are not only a civil servant, but you are also a beacon of hope and an ambassador for all visually impaired people who aspire to get into the civil services. So wish you the very best, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां.
This podcast was brought to you by Score Foundation.